Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by John Boy Media. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pinnock. Going to do a little Rams cleanup, answer a lot of mailbag and voicemail questions. It's getting to the point where it's like, I don't know if we can even advertise anymore because we're getting voicemails. Usually I'd put it on Instagram and we get like 5 prank calls. And I love the prank calls, but I know if I put it on Instagram, we'll be here. We'll just be here all night. Anyways, Justin, how you doing, my man?
Hey, Bobby. We're no longer going to advertise anything, but we should advertise who our new Patreons are.
We will. And this is a tough one. This is a tough week. Well, first, I'm not going to say the guy's name because I do see his email, but his name on it is just Janyc. Janice. If he added an E, it would be a clean Janice.
We could say Janice, and this no, this technically would be our second female patron.
That's true, but his name is John, so it's not actually
tough.
And then I want to know who this person is. His last name is Fernandez. That's an easy one. And his first name is Aljosha. Aljosha. I'm usually good with the Hispanic names, but Aljosha. I don't think he's even in America, honestly, because of his email address. So, anyways, Justin, who are these friggin' people?
Sorry for the rough stretch of names that we had this week, but they went to patreon.com/talkinggiants, and for $2 a month, which they generously have given us, they are getting access to live shows. They get access to some behind-the-scenes things and content that maybe we release early. And also, for twice a month, they are entered into a raffle for a Talkin' Giants shirt.
It's a new month, too, so we'll have to I'll end up doing that on one of my live streams later this month. Anyways, Justin, how are you feeling about we're going to answer mailbag and voicemail questions here in a second. How are you feeling overall about the Giants after 2 days of, watching film and digesting everything? How are you feeling about our Giants?
I haven't looked at a ton of stats, which I honestly think is good for my mental health. I'm going to be looking at a lot of the stats tomorrow. My job gave me Wednesday off, so I'll be spending the large majority of tomorrow writing my Talk and Analytics blog and tweeting out some stats. So I watched the film, and I've been watching the film, and Bobby, I feel good. Knowing that we watched a game and knowing that we had opportunities and we missed opportunities, but being in a place, let's just say, my camera just went out. Let's just say for being 0-4, I'm in the best place I possibly could be compared to if I just didn't watch film.
Yeah, that's true. There's some things I like, some things I dislike. All right,
but when you're expecting like just bad and sadness, and then I turned it on and it was like, oh, well, running game here, Daniel Jones there, dropped ball there, defense fun. So we'll get into it. But just know that if you've been a person that has been complaining about us complaining, or particularly me, I'm gonna be happy this episode. I'm gonna be happy.
All right, we'll see how happy you are. I have some negative stuff, but for the most part, I guess it's positive. Anyways, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun, damn it, and we're gonna enjoy ourselves. All right. Speaking of fun, let's kick it to Steve from Blue's Clues.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
All right. Thanks, Steve from Blue's Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
First question in our mailbag, is from Topher Pete at Topher Pete 629. Topher Pete, it's a shame you should have got rid of the 2. I just realized that your Twitter handle is close to 69. If the losing continues and Dave Gettleman is fired, do you think Merritt and Tisch make Joe Judge the GM? Give him power over everything and give him 2 or 3 years to finish what he started putting into place this season. Bobby, what do you think?
So this was why last year I was like, hey, if you're gonna keep both him, Gettleman and Shermer, or fire both of them, because then you're gonna put yourself in a weird decision if they decide to fire Gettleman the next year. And I think we're all assuming it's gonna happen. We'll see what happens. I know people are making the Kevin Abrams jokes, and I guess a lot of people actually think that. I don't think they're going to go within. I just don't think they could do that too. Like, I get Gettleman was an outsider, but he was basically a from within guy. And like you point out, Ernie Accorsi was the one that did the evaluation of the team. But anyways, no, I don't think so. What does Joe Judge prove to be a GM? You know what I'm saying? Now, maybe he would be great at it, and from the outside in, we can't see that. But the Texans, like I said that with the Texans, like, what did Bill O'Brien ever prove to be the GM of the Texans? And I don't really like head coaches being GMs. I think Bill Belichick would be better off not being, like, having some GM power, but not being like the head GM. You know what I'm saying? Because I think they've done some bad, like, trades and drafts. They move on from guys at the right times. I give Bill credit for that. But overall, like, they're not really a great drafting team. So no, my answer is no. Joe Judge hasn't proven anything to say that he should be the GM.
Bobby, the Giants have always. Now, John Mara did say this offseason that he's willing to change and that there are changes happening behind the scenes that we can't see. But the Giants have always followed the hierarchical structure of owner is going to have his nose in kind of a little bit of everything. The general manager is going to make player personnel decisions and, guys that are being traded, brought onto the roster, etc. And the coaches are going to coach. That has always been the structure, even going, you're going back to when this franchise had success with George Young and Parcells. So I think it stays the same. If you are on the boat of Joe Judge being an evaluator of talent and a general manager, it's because either Joe Judge has convinced Giants ownership, or he's also convinced the people that think that he can do that because he was a special teams coordinator, and what you're doing as a special teams coordinator is that you are evaluating athletes. You're not just evaluating guys that can catch a football, can rush the passer. You're evaluating athletes, and you're evaluating football players as in their ability to play the game of football, not in like their one little ability to do something right or wrong, which Joe Judge talked about that this offseason. So if you are on that boat where you want Joe Judge possibly being a general manager, that's your avenue where you're coming from of your take. So I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
I don't think it would happen. They're not going to get one. The Giants don't do business that way, like you mentioned. No. But Joe Judge hasn't proved anything. I mean, Joe Judge so far has been 0-4. Now I'm not bashing Judge, but like he hasn't proven anything to be like, oh, this guy deserves to be the GM. And hell, like Tom Coughlin never really deserved. Like, I love Tom, but I mean, look at him as a as a
executive.
He wasn't a GM, but the president of football operations, so basically the GM. So yeah, I don't think Joe Judge has shown that he deserves a GM position. And like I said, we want someone that's fresh. And this is a question that we'll talk about later in the season if it continues to be really bad. But and I don't want this to be taken as Joe Judge bashing. But if the new GM like comes in, I want him. I don't want the GM to like have prerequisites. So like, hey, like if you think the guy's best for the job and he wants to move on from Joe Judge, then let him do that. Like put this team in a new GM's hands if that's what you want to do. Don't give him prerequisites. So if he wants to move on from Judge, let him move on from Judge. Like I said, we're 4 games in, so this is like some big time macro conversations.
Yeah.
But anyways, long story short, no, I don't think Joe Judge will be the GM. Yeah,
keep an eye out. John Mara may pick the new general manager based off of who will keep Joe Judge. That is a possibility that I can see happening. All right, what's our... We have a voicemail.
What's up, Talking Giants? This is Dan from Staten Island, New York. I'm currently calling from Staten Island, New York, outside my mom's car, per Bobby's request. I'm sorry, my car. Whoops. I had to get this voicemail out as soon as possible. So from what I've seen, the defense is keeping us in games every single week, but we just can't get the offense rolling. And I've said this in a past voicemail, but like, what the heck are we going to do about this? Because it's starting to come to a point where I think Patrick Graham is doing a good job with the defense, but it's just Jason Garrett is not finding the right way to get this offense rolling. We do have the potential. All right, you said under a minute. I'm going to keep it at that. Go Giants.
All right, so first rule, because there's a lot of like mixed in Jason Garrett questions, so we'll talk about Jason Garrett later. But he hit on Patrick Graham, and Justin, I want to start off talking about Patrick Graham. By the way, I changed the voicemail greeting. That's why they're leaving. You'll see a theme to it. I changed the greeting.
I left a nice like talking Giants.
That's
listeners.
the issue. It's too nice. It's too nice and too damn professional, and that's not what we're about here. Okay.
First of all, before we get into Patrick Graham, Dan from Staten Island, what are you doing? Where are you? Like, are you okay? We should also make. Did you make it like a requirement? Did you make it a requirement that people had to tell like their zip code and the address where they're recording from?
You'll see a theme. You'll see a theme to these calls going forward.
All right, Patrick Graham.
Okay, so Patrick Graham, and I wanted to start out positive with this one. And he left a call Sunday night, so credit to him for getting in on it early. I love Patrick Graham. I really do. And if you have been listening to us for a year, I kind of was out on Betcher around... I wasn't out on Betcher around this time last year, actually, because we won our Game 3 and Game 4.
You were very low on him. Like, out of everybody, you were lowest on Betcher.
I'm a very patient person. Actually, I feel like I'm becoming less patient with certain things. But anyways, I was like, this guy, like, he is not who he was advertised as. And Patrick Graham is. And what did we, like, all offseason, I was like, that's cool that he says multiple. But I'm not believing it till I see it. And boy, has he done it. I love what he's doing for this defense. He notices little things. I don't know if, a lot of people are starting to watch all 22 film, which is cool. Notice on some big-time passing downs, and not just third down, like second down, there's a guy in the flat by the Rams, and they don't cover him. They flat out ignore him and add another person in the middle of the field. And I guarantee you that is Patrick Graham noticing what the Rams do with their crossing routes and stuff, saying they are never coming back to that progression. Jared Goff does not come back there. So we're going to help out in the middle of the field. And it showed, man. I mean, this defense shut down what the Rams are good at against a good offensive coordinator, Sean McVay. I love what he's doing with those guys. I love how Tay Crowder, man, I'm so excited to see how he fits in with this defense. He allows Blake Martinez to play more aggressive, where Devontae Downs was the exact opposite. And that's why I like Conley. I was like, because Conley allows Blake Martinez to play aggressive. So I've loved what I've seen out of Tay Crowder. Ryan Lewis. Now, the nature of these episodes is there are a lot of offensive calls. So you take it away, because I don't want to talk about every single defensive player before you speak, because we don't have a lot of calls about the defense.
No, I want to hear what you have to say about Ryan Lewis, because I'm very interested. But this was the first game that we saw Adrian Colbert. And while the Giants' defense has been pretty darn good at not allowing the deep passing play throughout the entire season, so I'm not going to say, oh, look at Adrian Colbert because he was in the game and because he played single high in Miami towards the second half of last year and he looked particularly good. Hey, I'm not going to say, oh, Adrian Colbert had a really good game, but there was no deep passing plays down the field, and there have been some plays and there have been some times this year where we have seen Julian Love look a little confused, and Julian Love has been the guy that's been asked to play the single high safety, while Peppers and Ryan have been the strong safeties / a little bit closer to the box. So that's one thing. But why, partially why you're so happy with what you're seeing from Patrick Graham is, Bobby, I don't know if he's multiple, because I guess, how do you define multiple with 3-3-5?
It's not multiple in 3-4-4-3. It's multiple in how he used, you never know, what is coming on that defense. Where last year it's like, okay, we're just playing cover 2 all game.
Right.
We're playing cover 3 all game. We're doing man coverage with Patrick Graham. It's different every play. There's no true identity to this defense where it's like the 49ers, they're cover 3 defense. The Bucks were a Tampa 2, the Bears are a Tampa 2 defense. There's no identity of this is what we're facing this week.
Yeah, so 2 plays consecutively that Patrick Graham showed early in the game was Darnay Holmes was coming off of a nickel blitz, forced Jared Goff. I wouldn't say QB hit, he got the QB pressure. It forced Jared Goff when he was targeting a guy on the sideline. It forced an errant throw to throw one out of bounds. The next play, which was a Kyler Fackrell sack, B.J. Hill drops into coverage towards the middle of the field. That absolutely throws Goff off for probably about a half a second to a second, And that extra time that Goff needs to take to realize what he is seeing in front of him allows Kyler Fackrell to beat the left tackle and to get the sack. So he's throwing various things out there, and he's utilizing guys in interesting ways. Hey, you want to know what? Some plays we don't want Darnay Holmes necessarily in coverage 24/7 all the time, so we're going to bring him in on a blitz, and he's going to try to be productive that way. BJ Hill, you're the you're the fourth defensive lineman for a reason. So when you're out there, you're going to be dropping back on third downs, and you're going to be in coverage. So it's great. It's fun, and it's exciting.
I love it. And, I tweeted that he's a great defensive coordinator, and then 20 minutes later, I was a little quick to pull the trigger on to call him a great defensive coordinator. But what I meant is I love what I've seen out of him, and people will point out the San Francisco game. I love the way he called that. The only thing I didn't like that Patrick Graham did this year was the 3-man rushes versus Chicago, because it gave Trubisky just the ability to just run around and let guys get wide open. I was fine with the way he called San Francisco. You can only hide Isaac Yiadom,
Yep.
A rookie nickel corner, Darnay Holmes, Devontae down to his trash. It's hard to hide those guys for an entire game.
Yeah.
And give the 49ers credit for attacking those guys and figuring out ways to do it. So I think he's done a good job hiding the bad players, and hopefully Tate Crowder is a good player going forward. So I've been happy with the way he uses it. He doesn't just screw bad players over.
Two things about that 49er game. Number one, don't think Patrick Graham needs to apologize for allowing the best offensive mind in the NFL to beat him. Don't think he needs to apologize for that. And secondly, on these stretch run plays, now I know that's not necessarily what killed the Giants. What killed the Giants is just their inability to get off on third down, which they did this past Sunday. They did a great job of getting off the field on third down. But if Tate Crowder's in there, and Tate Crowder's strength is his athleticism, it's his ability to go sideline to sideline, and he actually made some plays this past weekend on some stretch plays, some jet sweeps to Robert Woods. He shut those down, and he was playing aggressive. He got a helmet on the ball carrier. It was very, very impressive to see what he can do. And Bobby, it's for the reason of, not necessarily, am I going to say Tate Crowder's, maybe the smartest football player out there? Maybe not necessarily, but what he is, he's an athlete, and he plays fast, and that's what this defense needs.
Aggressiveness and instincts. That's what I asked for out of a backside linebacker. Blake Martinez has been able to play aggressive, but that play side linebacker has to, be a little, you can't just go, or you'll get taken advantage. Backside linebackers, man, know your gap and hit it hard, and that's what Tate Crowder has done. So like I said, a lot of offensive calls going forward. Can we talk Ryan Lewis for a second?
I wanted to ask you to go into him because I want to hear what you have to say.
I was impressed with the way he played. Let's relax before crowning him the cornerback too. He played better than any game Yiadom or Ballantyne's had this year, but we do I can't say in concrete we have our cornerback two yet. There was some very impressive when he was targeted. He did a pretty good job. So some good stuff there, but we need to, pump the brakes on Ryan Lewis a little bit, because we could very well see the Cowboys throw for over 100 yards on the guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, but he is basically, Giants fans should expect out of the three, Ballantyne, Yiadom, or Lewis should be the guy that should be trotting out there
And
at least
Ballantyne's
first.
done.
Yeah, Ballantyne's done, but just talking about just in general, Lewis should be the guy that we're expecting out there first play this upcoming Sunday.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, next call.
Have a couple Daniel Jones voicemails, I think.
Hey guys, this is Gordy. I'm 69 years old and
Nice.
been a Giants fan since I was 6. I'm in Oneonta, New York, and I forget what else I'm supposed to say. Oh, I'm calling from a bridge over a little stream on my handicap scooter. Anyways, you guys are great. I listen to 5 Giants podcasts, and the two things that keep me from depression are you guys and Rammstein. Anyway, 2 questions. Daniel Jones is reminding me of Mitchell Trubisky and that Jacksonville quarterback from a few years ago, whoever he was. Something about having no magic. Wanted your comments on that. The other thing I'm curious about, I really like Joe Judge. I mean, it's hard for me to get down on him. And I wonder what that's about. What do you think it is about that I might, or other people too, might continue to like him, even though they're losing? Keep up the good work and keep my spirits up. You're doing it. Thanks. Bye.
All right, Gordy left a voicemail call or a follow-up.
Sorry, guys. It's Gordy again. I realize I said I'm sitting on a bridge in the stream, and I'm not suicidal or anything like that. I also mentioned depression, so I'm laughing now. Anyway, it's a little tiny stream, a little tiny bridge with my feet up.
I feel you, Gordy. I love the water. I love to spend some time there. So I like that he called from there, and then he called back. He's like, you know what? I was mentioning being depressed by the Giants and being on a bridge with my scooter, and that could have came off wrong. So I appreciate the follow-up on that, Gordy. So we'll answer his Daniel Jones thing in a second. But Joe Judge-wise, I think why he likes Joe Judge is because he's old. Gordy's an old man, and Joe Judge plays to the old people. With that, I mean, he plays to me too. I'm just saying.
That's not necessarily true. I mean, Gordy's talking about why don't you have the feeling that Daniel Jones has the magic? You have the feeling that Joe Judge has the magic.
Has the magic. The Orlando Magic.
Mm.
All right, and then one of our favorite listeners, Tim Coffey, left a call too, because I told him to.
All right, Bobby, this is Tim Coffey from North Carolina. Yeah, I'll leave a message. Talk me off. I'm gonna try and leave this on the Talking Giants one, not the Patreon only. Talk me off an effing ledge, man. Because what I see out of Daniel Jones is I see a guy that doesn't fit what the coaching staff wants, or a coaching staff that has no idea how to use a guy like him. And I don't see progression. I don't see jack shit, to be honest with you. I see a great defense, and I see a lot of confusion out of a young quarterback that really makes a lot of bad decisions. So go ahead, talk me off that ledge. Because as of right now, I'm about to jump.
So we have Gordy calls and says, just letting you know, I'm not jumping off a bridge. And Tim Coffey calls and says, I'm about to jump off of a bridge. So that's the state of the Talking Giants voicemail line right now. Me changing up the voicemail greeting has really shaken up our world.
This is community in action right now. This is what community looks like. What do we want to attack? Well, we already we said Joe. Why do you like Joe Judge, Gordy? Joe Judge has the magic. Or at least he feels like he has the magic. So I think we answered that.
So let's talk about Daniel Jones. I'll let you start. I want to say I was so pissed off at myself Sunday night, or what was it, Monday morning, whatever, because we and you argued about that last throw. And then I went back and watched it, and I saw it, and I was like, damn it, Justin was right. Justin was right. I was so pissed off at myself, and I was waiting for tweets about it. Got some YouTube comments. I was wrong, okay? I make one mistake in 2 years. It's the only mistake I've ever made. I was wrong. But I want to kick it to you. What are your thoughts of Daniel Jones?
How tough was it to type all those times? Because we did get a decent amount of YouTube comments. How tough was it for you to say Justin was right, Bobby was wrong? That must have been really tough.
Hold on.
I think with any other person, if you were wrong, like, okay, I was wrong. But the fact that it was
it live. We should have just went and watched it.
The fact that it was over me, well, no, because I have a big ego, but you also have a big ego, and this is why the show's good. Because of your big ego, you didn't think that I was right. But because I was right, I think that got to you. So that must have been really tough. Bobby, thoughts on Daniel Jones?
Well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect. I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake.
Anyways, what was your question?
Well, you asked me a question. Thoughts on Daniel Jones?
Yes.
So I mentioned the CPOE, the completion percentage over expected, this past weekend, and it was the lowest in the NFL from this past weekend. I did not check the Monday games, but based off of Sunday's games, it was the lowest in the NFL, and that includes Nick Mullins, who had a very bad game. Probably not lower than the two Patriots quarterbacks that played last night. But and I watched the tape and I watched the film. And the reason why it was low, and the reason why apparently Daniel Jones was the least accurate quarterback in the National Football League this past weekend, despite completing like 65% of his passes, the reason why it was so low is because I'm using NFL Next Gen stats, and it largely relies on player tracking data. So it's saying where is the closest cornerback nearest to the targeted wide receiver, and where is the football going in comparison to where the wide receiver is. So, Bobby, I thought that there were some throws that Daniel Jones missed on the sideline, and I sent you the clip that I was talking about. Daniel Jones got hit on a couple throws. There were a couple throws where there was like a safety or a linebacker that was in the flat, where if Daniel Jones tried to arc a ball or if he tried to, shoot a ball inside a gap where it was a guy on the sideline, it would have been picked off, it would have been tipped, it would have been incomplete. So Jones was
analytics sucks.
No, I'm saying that it's nuanced, and you have to contextualize what you're looking at. So this past weekend, the NFL Next Gen CPOE metric, it's based on that player tracking data, but you have to look at kind of what's going on around Jones. So I was not as upset with what I saw from Daniel Jones. Jason Garrett's a different story, because that's just a running storyline, and I don't think that's changed from last week's and then even Monday's show. But whenever there was some kind of deep concept, and the two deep concepts that the Giants had this past Sunday, and the two deep plays, one went to Ratley, I want to say, then the other one went for 33 yards to Darius Slayton. And what both of those plays had is they had their slot receivers running a streak down the field, and then their outside receiver was running an in route. So because you had the slot wide receiver, he was pulling the slot corner, and he was pulling a safety down the field. It left the middle of the field wide open. So, this isn't, I don't want to say that, hey, let's just run this more, because offenses and defenses are going to eventually see that, and if you try to copy and paste it too much, it's going to get repetitive.
Similar concepts, though.
It's similar concepts, and I don't know, Daniel Jones has been able to read that well, and it's worked, and it worked twice last week, and I'm pretty sure we only ran it twice.
So I'll save my total offense takes for when we get asked about Jason Garrett, and I'll keep this just to Daniel Jones. By the way, Gordy, how are you going to compare him to the two quarterbacks I hate the most in the NFL that have been picked in the first round? Trubisky.
Maybe he's talking about Blaine Gabbert.
Blake Bortles. Gosh, I mean, I can't stand both those guys. Hopefully he didn't mean Blaine Gabbert. Anyways, he, like Mark Schlereth was like being like, this guy doesn't go through progression. One, Sheriff said that on that play where there was no routes being ran, and also now he does lock on the receivers, like he does. I'm denying that, but also he's like they're literally playing in a slow motion, like still not off his first read. It's like, yeah, we'll play it in full speed, and like they did it on that fourth down, and it's like he made the right progressions. He just threw the ball high, but anyways, he has been inaccurate on some throws, and he is still like holding on to the ball a little bit. And with this short game, it seems like I'm saving my Jason Garrett takes, but they're trying to turn him into this quick trigger guy, and that's just not who he is. So when you're doing that in some short, like very short concepts paired with receivers that don't get separation, it leads to mistakes. And he has and he should own those mistakes. But it's been I haven't been happy with Daniel Jones, and I love Daniel Jones. And I'm going to give him every chance. But these last couple of games, I haven't been happy with him. A lot of my frustration stems from other things. But I can't sit here and say, like, Jones played good the last two games. He didn't play as bad as, people make it out to be. But he hasn't played good the past two games.
No. Bobby, I felt when I was rewatching the film, I felt the offense for the majority of the game was near the 40-yard line. Like, either the 40-yard line on their own side or the 40-yard line of LA side. And they're trying to put together drives, but they just can't finish. They can't finish, and that's been the problem throughout the entire season. But San Francisco, it was just non-existent of any kind of movement. But at least there was movement, especially in the second half, and that's what happens when you're not just a one-dimensional offense and you can run the ball a little bit. Bobby, while you're doing your offensive line review, I know you're looking at the offensive line. So you're not necessarily looking at Daniel Jones. But when you're doing your offensive line review, there was a few times when I'm watching film where I'm like, dude, guys are just getting pushed back into Daniel Jones, and he's just sitting in the pocket. He's standing there, and it seems like he's a statue. Now, I don't want to put this Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers expectation on Daniel Jones. I don't want to do that. But there are a few times where he is pressured, he does get hit, and he waits for things to totally just break down in front of him until he's able to move the pocket and try to expand the play that way. And that's probably the thing that I got most frustrated, that, dude, you have the athleticism, the natural athleticism to expand the play. Sure, you're not going to be Russell Wilson throwing on the run, but you have that natural athleticism to expand the play when things break down in front of you on the offensive line.
Yeah. But long term, I don't want him to be that kind of guy that's scrambling around like crazy.
Right.
I want him to learn how to operate from the pocket, and that's what good QBing is, and then using your legs as needed, like you said. Now, if you're Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, yeah, you're gonna be looking like a madman back there, but that's not who Jones is. So, nonetheless, have been.
I think it's a balance. It's a balance, just like with anything in football. There are times where if you're getting an offensive tackle pushed into your lap within.
And Thomas has struggled the past. Like, he got a lot better. After that first quarter, man, I was so frustrated with Andrew Thomas because it wasn't like he had some reps against Aaron Donald, but the Rams shouldn't have done that to him. Now, he got a lot better as it went on, but the same things that and that's what bothers me. And these are you draft talking points is people were like, oh, he's the most pro ready. He doesn't have a high ceiling. And I viewed it as the opposite, where I was like, I feel like he has the most to work on. He just was able to rely on him as just an athlete to beat these best.
Yeah.
People called him the most pro ready because he beat K'Lavon Chaisson handedly. He beat Josh Allen. He beat Julian Okwara handedly. I feel like that's why people call pro ready, where it's like, yeah, but he needs to work on his punch. Sometimes he leans a little bit. His
moves have been the biggest thing.
Yeah, and his footwork has been bad. In college, he was awesome at shutting that down and recovering. In the NFL, you got to have your feet working with that. And that's where I was like, I don't think he's the most. I think Jedrick Wills is the most pro ready, and I like Thomas more. Because Jedrick Wills' technique is like it's kind of capped out. You know what I'm saying? Where Jedrick Wills kind of gets beat on some athleticism sometimes. And Wirfs, who I guess has been playing really good at right tackle, and then Becton, I hope he gets healthy, because I will say this, because I did like Thomas the most. If Becton can stay healthy and play at the trajectory, he's the best out of these four.
Yeah.
I know it's early, but he has been wowing. Now he's had bad plays, but he has been wowing. So, I was a Thomas guy, but after 4 games, I mean, Becton would be hard to pass up. Now he's been injured. So, anyways, back to Jones. Went off on an offensive line rant.
Yeah, we actually have a zone defense question.
Yeah, ask that.
Speaking of accuracy with Daniel Jones, Chicago Giants fan at Chicago's Giants FN. There have been some people who have said that Jones struggles with zone defenses. Is there any validity to that? I tend to agree with that assertion. What do you guys think?
All right, so this is based off of NFL Next Gen. Like you said, they're tracking stuff. They don't know how to track zone and man coverage, because sometimes zone looks like man coverage. Remember last year, a guy wrote an article saying Jones's first touchdown against zone was against Chicago, and I went back and looked, and there were 6 of them. That's based now. He hasn't been lighting it up, so you could say he's struggling against zone. But that to me is not like that. That to me is a myth. Now, like I said, you could say he's struggling against zone because he's struggling kind of against everything right now. But no, I feel like that, just like this whole he just can't play against zone. That's a product of their tracking stats.
Yeah,
and they do, and that's not me just calling it out. The guy who runs it even came out and said, yeah, it's really hard for us to figure that kind of stuff out. And then the guy who was being arrogant, Frisco Josh, said, oh, I'll have to change my article after being a snarky douche.
Also, I feel like a lot of Daniel Jones's big plays last year came against man coverage, which I think that is backed up. That's backed up by the stats. So This is also a Jason Garrett problem. When you're eliminating Daniel Jones's ability to throw the ball deep down the field, you're eliminating his ability to read coverages and see that, this defense is in man coverage, so I'm more confident to attack deep down the field when we're in man cover, when a defense is in man coverage versus zone. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility in terms of just because we don't have concrete data of where Jones is better against this coverage, that coverage, whatever. You can look at the tape, and I'm especially thinking of the passing touchdown that went to Golden Tate last year, where it was, one-on-one, man-on-man. Jones put that ball in a perfectly placed spot. So it's partially a Jason Garrett problem, Bobby, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll get to Jason Garrett in a second. Let's take this voicemail.
Gentlemen, this is Brian from New Jersey calling in to ask about Matt Parrott and his appearance during the last series of the first half of the game. I thought it was very random, especially on a drive that could have put some points on the board, and then he was nowhere seen in the second half of the game. Post-game, Joe Judge had mentioned that he was doing it to just get him some on-the-field playing time. It just seems like a very odd time for it to happen. And I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Is that a sign that we might be seeing more of him as we go down the road and maybe phase Fleming out? Or was that just a random experiment? Or where do you think we're heading with this? Because I feel like there's some definite potential with him. And if we're going to have a year where we're kind of developing these younger players, why not get him in there and get more reps? Love what you guys are doing and can't wait to hear more. All the best. Peace.
So before we talk about Matt Parrott, I want to ask you, what did you think of that experiment to just play him for one drive? Because I don't think I've ever seen that before.
First off, Brian Colburn is a longtime listener. He also has a music podcast called Tune Styles Podcast.
I've listened to it.
He does some fun interviews. Yeah, he's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. I think he's 10 times better podcaster than I am. So
I agree.
Yeah, really. What did I think of the experiment? I thought he was hurt. I thought Fleming was hurt. I was saying
or he was just benched.
Or he was just benched, right? I think I like it because even though it's a different way of doing things, we're just gonna give reps here and there to Parrott, because it's not gonna hurt Cam Fleming's confidence. Cam Fleming knows that he is signed here for 1 year. He knows that unless he absolutely balls out, which PFF really thinks that Cam Fleming is balling out, unless he's really going to ball out, he's not going to get a contract extension with the Giants, and the Giants already have some other contingency plans there. Plus, there's Nate Solder. Yeah, I thought it was strange, but it's also different from the other coaching staffs that we had, where other coaching staffs have been hesitant to even give underexperienced guys reps. So
on a 2-minute drill too, it was interesting.
Yeah, but it was strange. I like the timing of it because 2-minute drill, defenses are trying to prevent you from throwing the ball down the field, not like Jason Garrett was going to throw the ball downfield anyway. However, there were two really big drops on that 2-minute drill where Daniel Jones actually threw the ball past the sticks, and it changed the entire complexion of the drive. Darius Slayton dropped the ball, and I believe C.J. Board dropped the ball on the sideline. So that changed the entire complexion of that drive when I actually criticized the play calling and the things that happened that drive. But anyway, I like it because you're not really going to be throwing the ball 30 yards down the field on that final drive because the defense is going to be preventing that. And then also they were doing the quick little rushing game too. So, because there weren't that many guys in the box. So, sure, have Parrott come in.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Now, going forward, would you start Parrott? Because he showed some good, but also some, not good in that drive. I would be okay with it, but I would have the expectation that he's going to struggle. You know what I'm saying? Now, and after 2 games of struggling, people would be like, this guy's garbage. So, I would have the expectation that he's going to struggle if he came in and played. And started and played full games.
If the running game wasn't historically bad, then yes. But the fact that the running game has been historically bad, and they're actually starting to put together a few different stretches of positive runs. Now, Bobby, I know you think that Matt Parrott would be a much better run blocker than he would be as a pass blocker. I understand that, and I respect that. But simply because of chemistry reasons, and just for playing together and playing as a unit, because the offensive line is not like just one of those positions like maybe wide receiver where you can just plug and play. And, a guy may not be able to miss a beat. These guys need to move as a unit. So Kevin Zeitler and Cam Fleming, they've had that, and the tight ends, they've had that communication for these first few weeks. Unless Fleming is really stinking up the joint, which he hasn't been great. Unless he's stinking up the joint, I'm not really making that move. I would love him to continue to get reps, though, here and there.
Yeah, I'm not making that move yet either. It's too early. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. All right, next question.
We have Colburn voicemail, Jesse wide receiver. Speaking of wide receivers, Jesse C at Jesse Jesse PE _ Chimino So, possible separation issues for our wide receivers, and we got teased with Austin Mack last week. When are we going to give one of the young boys a shot? Who would you guys like to see get a stab at some reps first?
I would say Derek Dillon just because he's the fastest,
Yeah.
Not to say he's going to be good, to be just the fastest. Can I say something? Because there's a lot of people mad about Austin Mack not getting reps, and I get it. But also,
Well,
he
didn't even play.
Or, they're being inactive. Don't they kind of that could have been just them hey, we got to call up somebody. Let's call up Mac. You know.
It could be we're hearing rumblings that another team wants to poach this guy from the practice squad, and we're going to sign him, and we're going to put him on the active roster because we don't want to lose him. We don't know.
Yeah, I just can't see guys that were undrafted free agents that we don't. It's not like that we were in love with them. We want to see them. We wish we could have had preseason so we could have some more takes on them. But I'm not. I can't be mad about why the hell is Benjamin Victor and Austin Mack and Derek Dillon not playing? Because if we had if Damian Ratley was an undrafted free agent of this team, we might be saying the same thing. Why is Ratley not playing?
Yeah, it's also a part of what at this pace would they the amount of practices that they got in, would we be in the 4th week of the preseason? Is that where we normally would be? So if for all the fans that were talking about how come we're not seeing them 2 weeks ago, it's tough. It's a tough spot for an undrafted free agent. And hey, you can say that this is a little knock on Gettleman. That why are you taking CJ Brunson, which is CJ Brunson even suited up yet?
First of all, it's TJ. No, he's been inactive every week.
Damn, that's my bad rating.
I will say good on us for saying you know what, TJ Brunson was taken over Tay Crowder, but Tay Crowder was better than TJ Brunson.
Yeah, and there were still some talented wide receivers on the board. Cam Brown, I understand they believe in Cam Brown, and you didn't draft Cam Brown because of his ability to play in 2020. You drafted him for the future, but again, in that 6th round, you had some talented wide receivers on the board. So, you could say it's a knock on Gettleman for having a stacked wide receiver class and not taking a wide receiver. And now what do the Giants need? We need wide receiver play badly. Bobby, I guess out of anybody, I would have to agree and say Derek Dillon, because there's nothing easy on this offense. There's nothing. So if we're talking about bringing in a guy who's really fast and can, move up and down the field north and south pretty quickly, screens, jet sweeps, something. They've been trying to run jet sweeps with Ratley or Board, and I don't think they're going to be breaking any records with their speed. But Dillon might. But also, I wouldn't mind to see Mack if we're going to throw the ball down the field. But there's no point of bringing up Mack if you're not going to throw the ball down the field, and give him that opportunity to get a one-on-one catch.
The wide receiver group is bad, man. Golden Tate has. I know you didn't like Golden Tate last year. I did. He's dropped off from last year, I think. And they're not using him downfield like Shermer did, which we'll get to in a second with some Jason Garrett stuff.
I actually have a little bit of a Tate take based off of what I watched on the film, and I'll be very quick about this because I know we still have a lot left. Tate actually had some intermediate routes, which he did well. Jones found him in the middle of the field on a particular route. He also had the yards after catch where he didn't really necessarily juke anybody, but it was on the 3rd down. And a lot of people got mad at him because he actually fell down when there were 2 defenders in front of him. So I would not mind if Golden Tate returned back to his kind of former days where he was more successful than he was in 2019, where he was catching the ball, somewhere around his average depth of target was 5, 6, 7 yards instead of 9 yards like it was last year. I wouldn't mind if Golden Tate returned to that quote-unquote Sterling Shepard role in the slot and trying to be reliable for Daniel Jones, because nothing is easy, nothing is reliable to Daniel Jones right now, rather than trying to check it down to Evan Ingram.
Yeah. Long story short, wide receiver is a huge need, and Shepard being out doesn't help. Saquon being out doesn't help, but it's a big time need, And Slayton doesn't look like a true number 1. We got a little excited after that Pittsburgh game. He doesn't look like he's a true blue number 1. Now, part of that might be who the next voicemail is about.
Hey guys, it's Hunter from Ithaca, New York. Calling from my car, just got out of my class, and I was wondering to hear your take about Jason Garrett and as an offensive coordinator, and how long do you think he's going to last as the offensive coordinator of this team? Because this offense was able to put up points last year, and it's just not looking like they're able to do that this year. And Pat Graham has really done a good job with our defense and has turned that into the strongest point of the team. Love to hear what you guys say. Big fan, first-time caller. Take care, guys.
Thank you for calling in, Hunter. So we'll ask. Let's not answer. There's a question about how long does Jason Garrett left in the mailbag. I obviously went off on Jason Garrett last week, but I also had some people being like, "Hey, it's a young season. It's a weird off season. Give it some time." I'm out, man. I'm out. Last year I couldn't stand Betcher because he played like a pansy, and I liked Shermer. It's the opposite this year. I love Patrick Graham because he doesn't coach like a pansy. And Jason Garrett coaches like a pansy. And I feel like whoever the quarterback is next year, Jason Garrett cannot be the offensive coordinator. And honestly, if they fired him today, I would celebrate it. I really would. I'm so out on Jason Garrett. Why did we ever fall for this guy? Why did we ever think this guy was going to change? I mean, he is coaching Daniel Jones like a pansy. And they have taken a guy who took downfield shots. And it's not like the offense was a juggernaut last year. But, like I said, he had a touchdown in every single game last year. Most of the time, it was multiple touchdowns. And he hasn't had a touchdown in 3 straight weeks. We have had scored 9 points, 13 points, 16 points. This offense it's literally the worst offense in the NFL. Daniel Jones is dead last in throwing the ball deep. His rate has been cut in half. He is dead last. Maybe Daniel Jones isn't the guy. That's open for discussion. But I know for a fact Jason Garrett is, man. He has ruined what any momentum that this kid had going into 2020. Everything is short. Everything. And every time they do run something downfield, you actually see some good stuff happen. And it's not like you have to, run air raid everything deep. You can have deep concepts and also have checkdowns within it and have some longer developing checkdowns because Jones likes to hold on to the ball. So you can be downfield, and then come back and have Caden or your running back on a 5-yard curl. And Pat Shurmur actually started putting some of those things in the end of last season. So this isn't some I miss Pat Shurmur, point. I do as an offensive coordinator. I get that you can't demote a guy to offensive coordinator. But I'm out on Jason Garrett. And if that means I'm whining and I'm complaining and it's a young season, sorry. But I got heat for getting on Betcher last season. And at the end of the season, there wasn't a single person who was agreeing with me. Hell, Carl Banks, who's a homer, was bashing James Betcher at the end of last season. I'm out on Jason Garrett. Maybe Jones isn't the guy. But whoever our QB is going forward, it cannot be Jason Garrett. He is coaching like it's 2009. He is. It is the most boring, bland offense compared with, and everything's short. So we have a QB who can lock on the guys and isn't reading things super quickly. That's what happens with young QBs. So everything's short and paired with wide receivers that get no separation. Sorry, Garrett, you don't have the best wide receivers in the NFL anymore. Obviously, the Cowboys didn't, but they had good wide receivers. And everything is short. And I know Dez Bryant and Terrell Owens are assholes, but you know what? They openly hate Jason Garrett. Openly hate him. Talk about how there will never be success if Jason Garrett's there. And you know what? Tony Romo was the offensive coordinator for that Dallas team. And you look at Dallas now, they're putting up points with Mike McCarthy, who I don't like, but they had an all-pro offensive line. Zeke, who's a top 3 back. Wide receivers like Amari Cooper, Gallup, who's pretty good. Now they have CeeDee Lamb. And Dak, who we think is, pretty good. We don't think he's elite, but he's pretty good. So it was just, and Kellen Moore was calling it. I'm so out on Jason Garrett. I know this is a long rant, but I'm done. He has to totally change this around. How could he look at this offense that it's the worst in the NFL and no downfield stuff and not change? Maybe he does change. Maybe he sees that and changes. Everyone from Dallas says it's don't bank on it. So maybe please change. But he cannot look at what they've done so far and say, yep, keep doing it this way. Keep doing it this way. And don't give me the excuse that it's a weird season, because there's other teams that are in a weird season too, and they're putting up points at a record pace. And we are a laughing stock. Our offense is a disgrace. So I know that was a rant, but I'm just out on him. And like I said, maybe Jones isn't the guy, but I promise you Jason Garrett's not the guy.
I hate to be the guy that just looks at one team and says, see, but Matt Rule, I'm looking at NFL tiers in terms of EPA, which is expected points added, which basically means is how good is your offense at operating in a play-by-play manner where you are adding some sort of expectation that you are going to be eventually be putting points on the board. That is what EPA basically means. And Carolina Panthers right now, who are also without their superstar running back, are right in the middle of the pack. They are right at average.
Historically doesn't take chances.
And they actually have been taking some chances. Yeah. That's the ironic thing.
I used to trash Teddy Bridgewater all season. It's like, good luck, Robbie Anderson. You have a QB who's never going to take it deep. They're taking shots. Joe Brady, who I loved, is taking shots. Hell, even the Jags, who suck, are putting up some points with Jay Gruden and Gardner, like a team that we thought was going to be 0-16 and tank for Trevor Lawrence. They're even doing some good things. I mean, it's pitiful what Jason Garrett is, man. I went back and looked at my video when we hired Jason Garrett, and I look at myself and I was like, so dumb, because I said all the bad things about him and kind of brushed it off. I said, none of his there's people who can't stand him, and people say Tony Romo was the offensive coordinator and that team had talent and they underperformed. And I was like, why did I brush all that off? Why did I ever fall for it with this guy?
Well, what you were hoping is that 10 years went by and Kellen Moore, who did some pretty awesome things. Kellen Moore, I think is going to make a hell of a head coach. I think he may follow a Stefanski pattern because, yes, I mean, he has talent, but the things that he's doing and the way that he's running his offense, I like it. I like it. He's utilizing play action. He's utilizing motion. It's things that, you're pounding your head on the table because Justin keeps on talking about these things, but he's doing things that help out your quarterback, and it makes things easier on your quarterback. There's nothing third time I'm saying it this episode, there's nothing easy for Daniel Jones. Lo and behold, the one out of the two plays where Daniel Jones, it was actually nearly a 20-yard gain, or Daniel Jones did have a 20-plus yard gain from this past game. In the first quarter, it was a play-action fake. It was out of the shotgun, play-action fake to Freeman, pulled it back, and it was Ratley that was wide open towards the middle of the field. Kind of ran like a deep slant. So I'm looking at the expected points added NFL tiers. You have offenses like the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Falcons that are kind of in the middle of the pack. Then you have offenses like the Texans, the Chargers, and the Bears that are kind of a little bit lower on the lower tier. Then there's the lowest. Then I'm gonna do a Moneyball reference. There's the lowest tier with the Broncos, Washington Football Club, and Eagles. Then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us with the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah, it's horrible. All right, next mailbag question.
Next mailbag question is going to be from TG Vigilante at Computer Folk Pennick.
Formerly known as.
If Judge decides it's time to shake up the offense and he changes play caller duties, who would you rather get the role? Shuplinski or Kitchens or someone else on the staff?
So we're going to go quick through these next questions just because time. Sorry if we got to you a little late. We just spent a lot of time ranting on stuff. I would say Shuplinski because that is Judge's guy. Kitchens kind of intrigues me because he was a horrible head coach and everything was downfield. But at this point, I would take everything downfield versus the exact opposite, and maybe he learned. So, I would assume that is Shuplinski, but maybe Kitchens. Joe Judge does have long time ties with Kitchens, and he was a play caller for the last 24, 25, 26 games of his coaching career.
Yeah, I don't really know. You're talking about this is a great.
I know
question.
Freddie would at least be like, go out there and play ball, boy. Where Jason Garrett's the opposite.
Yeah, where I would want to say it's Shuplinski because maybe that's how they're forming him. They're forming him to be the quarterback coach, and usually the quarterback coach, you kind of follow that overall trajectory, moveward, upward in the organization, and from quarterback coach you go to offensive coordinator next. So, but I don't know enough about Shuplinski. The only thing that we really know is the interview that we had from our friends down in Miami, and they said glowing things about him, where they actually thought that he would be the next up at offensive coordinator. So that's good. Yeah. And the thing with Kitchens is that we've already seen what he has. So do you want to try to retread and repeat that again, and then possibly lose Shuplinski and not? What
scares me with Shuplinski is he worked so much with Brady and these short area guys where it's like, I'm going to do the same thing. So that's why Freddie Kitchens is like, you know what? Let's just go out there and wing it because what we're doing now is not working.
I think there is a way to be smart about it, though, Bobby, because Sean Payton and Drew Brees, for the large majority of Drew Brees' latter end of the career, has been his average depth of target and his time to throw.
But
it's very, very low, and I know
Jones
that's
isn't Drew Brees.
I know, exactly. But
That's not
I'm
who he
just
is.
saying that there is a smart way to do it. So
Eventually, as his career goes on, you want him, but young, let him make some. Like I said, make mistakes downfield, not at 5-yard intervals. All right, we got to go quick through these last ones.
Got it.
Justin and Bobby, hey, it's Eric, Naples, Florida.
Florida.
Home from work for a couple hours. You guys have a great show. First time, long time. Just wanted to say a couple things. Not really a question so much, but we lack leadership as a whole. We don't have players like Roll, like Taylor, like Carson. The glory days are way over. We know that. But I still blame Jerry Reese. This roster is so depleted, and I still blame Reese. And Gettleman just continued the trend. So I don't see a lot of hope. We're 12-42 since that playoff game. Give me something to feel good about. Giants blue all day long. Love you guys. See ya.
Love you too, Eric. So we're not going to really answer that question just because it's time consuming. And sorry, next time, Eric, if you call in, we'll put you at the beginning of the show. Here's what that made me think of, though, because he was mentioning old guys. How nice was it to see all my heroes singing about Eli Manning for the Tom Coughlin Fund?
That was a bop.
I loved it, man.
I listened to that 75
Just seeing
times.
those guys makes me so happy. Seeing all those guys, seeing Rich Soibert dancing around, and Sean O'Hara, and Tuck, and all, like, those guys are my heroes, man. And I hope we have some heroes for today's teenagers on this team.
Blake Martinez. I need to find the whole video. That's what I need to do. That's my big item on my to-do list tomorrow, is find that whole video of them singing that Taylor Swift song.
All right. Last voicemail, and then we'll finish off a couple
Hello,
mailbag.
gentlemen. This is Matt calling from Connecticut. My question is mostly for Bobby. If the Giants win in Dallas this weekend and or score 30 or more points, is the Super Bowl race back on? First time, long time. Thank you.
All right, so if we win against Dallas, we will celebrate it like it's a Super Bowl. I don't care if people are like, oh, it's one game, we're still 1-4. I don't care. We are going to celebrate like crazy, Justin. I just want you to know that. We are going to savor every victory this year.
No, absolutely. I may even go on a little bit of a rant on Friday about the Dallas Cowboys caused me so, and I'm going to have to do it without cursing. Dallas Cowboys caused me so much pain. I'm going to save it. Just know it's coming. I may even write something out. I freaking hate the Cowboys. I hate them. I can't. All right. Two final questions, Bobby. KG at KNNGYNR.
Keenan. He's
King.
a Patreon.
When will the bleeding finally stop? With like a sad face emoji that goes like this. The YouTube crowd. The YouTube crowd got to see me do that. And then Mr. Brownstone.
Well, can we answer Keenan's question?
Well,
when will the bleeding stop?
They're kind of similar. They're kind of similar questions.
Put a tampon in, Keenan. How about that?
Oh, put a tampon on it.
Yeah.
We're on to Dallas.
He's a Patreon, so he gets it.
We're on to Dallas in parentheses. Y'all ready for this W? First of many, hashtag 12-4.
12-4, 77-0. Super Bowl champions. It's happening. It is happening. Should we even do an interview? We got an email from this place that was asking about maybe having Orlando Skandrick on. So I guess there's a Cowboys podcast now. Should we do an interview for divisional rivals?
Are we going to interview Orlando Skandrick? Can we have Orlando Skandrick on and then just harass him?
That would be funny. Could we do? Now, this is the connection I've made, and they try and be nice and like want to hook us up, so that would be kind of messed up. Maybe we could just be like, hey, man, just roast Jason Garrett. You come on.
Yes, okay. That's a good middle ground. Yes.
His publicist didn't reply, so we'll see. So we might have just got people's expectations up, and they're not getting it. So we'll see. I'll reply. I'll send a follow-up email in the morning. All right. Screw the Cowboys. Do you got anything else before we roll? We're about to hit 1 hour. Can we put the Blue's Clues song in the YouTube video and just see if it gets flagged? Let's try it.
I don't know, because you didn't. I don't know if you didn't leave enough time. You didn't leave enough time for Steve to do his thing.
You can't cut it up.
Like I can have him just include the video.
That's what I was thinking.
And then it cuts back to us. Okay, we can try that.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay.
It's
very quick and early. Yeah.
Yeah. A little on-air editing.
Right there. All right. Send me the video.
I will. All right. We appreciate you guys. Let's beat the Cowboys. I know this is now I'm talking like it's a preview show. Enjoy the Giants. I don't even know what I'm saying. Don't jump off bridges, Gordy.
No.
Tim Coffey. Don't do it. Don't do it. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back Friday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.